It's a little bit tedious to me to address people who have largely already figured things out and come to their own review and bias. Maybe they know more than me. I've often been kept purposefully in the dark. But the way that I see the situation with Greta is that we know Gail Burston knew all about the AIDS attack when she was 12 years old. And since she was with Wattenmaker, I suspect she was also with Trumpy Toon and Attenborough. So Schwarzenegger and Greta working together would not preclude the idea that Greta was in on COVID. Now, I also know that I was kept in the dark and my name was used. So I'm in love with Greta. Frankly, I see her as somebody who's in a catch-22 situation. I don't see her as knowing all the details of cinema history that Gail Burston did. I believe she may have been coached to make the scowling gestures that echo through the plantation to the semiotic of how my mouth was poisoned. I'm doing okay. Now, whether she sees me as an object lesson, that would be telltale, right, if she did. But the truth is that she's been eager to have me as a fan. And she's aware that I love her deeply. And she hasn't made any attempts to do anything but encourage me to focus my attention on the problems of global warming. So we're dealing with a mutual history of misconduct by moguls. And one of the groups was calling themselves Artec, which is like Aztec. I've often said that Paul McCartney took her as a human shield. It's typical of him to hide behind little girls. When he attacked me blindside with his Casper squad, he called it a duel. A full-grown superpower attacking a 98-pound deafened child from behind is a duel. No, their mindset about that was that they were incorporating abortion, the liberal attacks the child. They were the ones paying for and sponsoring abortion, by the way, so it's not like they were sincere in that. But they used it as a sort of hookonymic, a sort of, Svengali idea. And they also brought in about Hiroshima, the girl, the semiotics with the hands over their ears, and the fellow from Japan at the nuclear bunker following Jack Ruby around. When they did in JFK, it's even now. JFK didn't even have anything to do with the nuclear bomb. So I don't, it's more the idea of the older generation in Europe saying, we have made a deal in human trafficking with the black man. And they pulled this stunt with Midori. You could see it in the semiotics where they played pussy ball. Obama gets the Oval Office, and my father was on the same ship as George Bush, so I'm like the runt of the litter. I'm the anti-W, and they're pulling the same business online, where cyber stalkers cut me off. Ronaldo who apparently was one of the porno people who was using me since childhood. I don't know if he was in on that deeply, but he represents the outfit that goes in for that. He comes up to me, that's not for you. When he showed him a picture of Greta, that's not for you, it's for the black man, and that's the business that they pulled with their whole pussy ball deal. Comes from the Green Party, and Greta's like up against, if she were to side with me, all sorts of stuff. But this gang killed Cersei Kennedy, so they have her in this Aztec sacrificial situation. McCartney has her as a human shield. And Yoko Ono says, well, you be our brat and we'll protect you. Because and the idea is that somebody's going to come percolating up out of the liberal establishment. Well, we'll get even for Cersei. The Kennedys, at least the faction of Kennedys that love Cersei, let Sirhan go. Douglas is making a statement. None of us mean you any harm, Greta. We all really love what you're doing. Believe me, all of us want to be there for you on that level, so don't worry about that. The thing to watch out for is that the Green Party might try to make it look like that, the way they made Oswald look the way they made Oswald look. That's their whole duplicity ploy. We're dealing with amoral people. The fossil fuel industry actually dreamed this up. Greta is, for them, a puppet on a string playing a role for them. You have to let us get away with AIDS and COVID and depopulating because we want a new Reich, and we're at the point where we can blow up the world with smog if you don't cooperate. So the whole thing is called a forcing house. And it's the old Axis establishment trying to create, a turnaround system. And what they're saying is they'll build an ark. And if you believe that, if they really do that, I mean, some of the people who were involved seem to be very special minds, like Cliff Havel. They're saying, you have to just get used to the fact that we're trying to save the animal kingdom, so we had to get rid of some of your grannies. See, my problem with this is it traces back through the Hollywood establishment to the Ford Corporation, the auto industry, the Highway Commission, General Electric, Ronald Reagan, the Red Scare, the Axis, and the Hollywood studio systems. Back in the days of Herbert Hoover, Louis B. Mayer. These guys wanted to, congregate in Berlin. The Berlin conference that carved up Africa. These were the people who wanted to carve up the world and sell it to Hollywood, and Hollywood got a hold of our imagined communities. The nation of Reagan was Hollywood. General Electric controlled, what you saw, how you saw yourself, brainwashing. And the Beatles were the most terrific of brainwashers. They came in and they owned love the way Hal Burton wanted to own water or something. So these kinds of mind games and manipulations are amoral. What that means is they use words to convince. They don't see them as laws. They see them as sales pitches. And Greta is performing a role as a sales pitch that we have to let go of the things that they did because we're faced with the global crisis. Now, I agree that we're faced with the global crisis. I agree with you completely, Greta. I'm trying to prevent them from using you as an Aztec sacrifice if you were to become knowledgeable about how the situation came about. I don't think that people need to be deceived about the Hitler connotations of the Axis Green Party who pulled AIDS and COVID. I think they should be told about the history of Reagan with Errol Flynn, for example, and the fact that his wartime movies were being made by the people who adopted the burning cross for the KKK when they made Birth of a Nation. These were the people who got us into the Vietnam War. Okay, so when it comes to the Vietnam Memorial, people who served the United States are entitled to the respect that's conferred for having served the United States. But that doesn't mean I agree with the policy that they were serving. I think it was a mistake to perpetrate the Vietnam War. I think America was purposefully humiliated by the Axis within. The party, remember, that after the Civil War, the defeated reasserted their power. The same thing happened after World War II. And the medium that they used both times was Hollywood. Birth of a Nation and Reagan's Red Scare Hollywood. So what we're dealing with is a situation that's fundamentally amoral. And you're asking me, do I think Greta is amoral? Would I fall in love with a woman I thought was amoral? Now, the thing is they say I am amoral and that they should punish me by killing Cersei. And so that creates this Aztec ogre that hovers over Cersei. This is what you get with these preposterous people. The question is, do we want to actually steer our country in favor of such preposterous people, or do we want to pull ourselves back from the brink of abysmal amoral leadership? Because that's what this has come to. Abysmal amoral leadership. And in the sense that Greta knows that, I'm 100% with her.